I was 15, just a scrawny kid with a chipped front tooth, when my folks decided to take me and my sister, Ellie, on what they called a family adventure to a bustling flea market in the city. My name's Caleb, by the way. We weren't rich, but we got by. Mom and Dad were always pinching pennies, griping about my comic book habit or the electric bill from my late-night gaming. Ellie, 2 years older, was the star of the family, always getting new dresses or art supplies while I got hand-me-downs and lectures about not needing another pair of sneakers. That summer, out of nowhere, Mom got all excited about this trip, which was weird because we never did stuff like that. Dad wasn't the type for crowded places, and Ellie acted like she was too cool for it, glued to her phone. The morning we left, Mom was fussing over my backpack, making sure I had my own water bottle and snacks, like I couldn't be trusted to not waste money. Dad was already in the truck, silent as a stone, and Ellie was whining about missing some party. The whole drive felt off, like we were all playing parts in a play nobody wanted to be in. We got to the flea market around noon. It was loud, packed with people, and smelled like grilled hot dogs and dust. I was just happy to stretch my legs after the hour-long drive. We wandered for maybe 20 minutes, Mom putting on this big fake grin, Dad staring at his phone, and Ellie rolling her eyes at some guy selling knockoff sunglasses. Then, out of nowhere, Mom stops, looks at me, and says, "Caleb, why don't you go check things out? Have some fun." She hands me a crumpled $10 bill and points toward a row of stalls with old records and cheap jewelry. It felt like a brush-off, but I figured they just wanted to look at boring stuff without me slowing them down. I turned to check out a table with beat-up action figures, probably for 10 seconds, maybe less. When I looked back, they were gone. Not just out of sight gone. No sign of Mom's red scarf, Dad's old ball cap, or Ellie's glittery phone case. I stood there, waiting for them to pop back up, thinking it was some dumb misunderstanding. They didn't. I started walking the aisles, figuring they just wandered off. I texted Mom, no answer. Called Dad, straight to voicemail. Ellie didn't pick up either, which wasn't a shock, she never did. I looped the market 3 times, checked the parking lot where our truck was supposed to be. It was gone. No note, no nothing. I kept calling, my phone battery dropping fast. People started giving me weird looks, like I was some stray dog. A vendor asked if I was okay, and I mumbled something about my parents being nearby. Hours passed. The market started closing up, stalls folding, lights dimming. I sat on a bench near a taco truck, my phone dead, that $10 still in my pocket. It was past midnight when it hit me. They weren't coming back. Not that night, not ever. I wasn't Caleb, their son, anymore. I was just a kid left behind, like a jacket they forgot at a rest stop. I sat there, staring at the empty market, wondering what I did to make them decide I wasn't worth keeping. So there I was, 15 years old, sitting on that splintery bench in the dark, the flea market empty except for a couple of workers sweeping up. My name's Caleb, if you didn't catch it before. My phone was dead, my family was gone, and all I had was $10 and a backpack with a half-empty water bottle and a granola bar. I kept thinking my parents or my sister Ellie would show up, maybe laughing, saying it was a prank gone wrong. But the streetlights just buzzed, and the air got colder. I didn't cry or anything. I was too mad for that. I just sat there, replaying every fight at home, every time Mom said I was too much work, or Dad gave me that look like I was a broken tool he didn't want to fix. Ellie, the golden child, never got that treatment. She'd get new sketchbooks, I'd get yelled at for wanting a new game. It wasn't a shock they ditched me, not really. It just hurt in a way I couldn't explain. The next morning, I used my $10 to buy a burger and a soda from a gas station. I didn't have a plan, just this dull ache in my chest and a need to keep moving. I wandered the city, sticking to busy spots where nobody would notice a kid like me. I'd sit in fast food joints, pretending to wait for someone, just to charge my phone when I could find an outlet. I tried calling my parents again, nothing. I checked their social media, expecting maybe a post about me being missing. Nope. Mom was sharing recipes, Dad was liking posts about fishing, and Ellie was posting selfies with her friends. It was like I'd never existed. I even walked by our old school once, just to see if anyone noticed me. Kids streamed out, laughing, planning their weekends. Nobody looked my way. I heard one of Ellie's friends mention her, saying she was killing it in art club. My parents were at every one of her shows, I bet. Me? I was a ghost. I learned quick how to blend in. I'd hang out at the library for free Wi-Fi, scrolling through local news sites, hoping for a missing kid report. Nothing. I'd sleep in bus station waiting areas, curled up on a bench, pretending I was waiting for a ride. One night, some guy tried to kick me off a bench, saying it was his spot. I pushed back, not hard, just enough to show I wasn't scared. He grumbled and left. You figure out fast that you've got to hold your ground or lose everything. Food was trickier. I'd hit up dollar stores for cheap chips or wait outside food trucks at closing time. Sometimes workers would toss me leftover tacos or fries, no questions asked. I didn't talk much, didn't trust anyone. People don't care about a kid alone. They just step around you. I kept thinking about why they left me. Mom always said I made things hard, like when I broke my arm and missed school for a week, or when I forgot to mow the lawn and Dad would lose it. Ellie could skip her chores, and it was no big deal. I wasn't a bad kid, just not the one they wanted. That realization didn't make me sad anymore. It made me angry. I wasn't going to beg for them to come back. I decided I'd survive, not for them, but to prove I didn't need them. I started planning, not some big dramatic thing, just small steps to make sure they'd never forget me. I'd make them see what they threw away. That's when I met Tommy, this guy at a shelter who wasn't exactly a friend, but knew how to get by. He showed me the ropes, like how to dodge questions and keep your stuff safe. I wasn't looking for a family, I was looking for a way to hit back. I'm Caleb, still kicking after my family left me at that flea market when I was 15. By now, I'd been on my own for a few months, learning how to scrape by in a city that didn't care if I ate or slept. I wasn't crying myself to sleep or anything. I was too busy figuring out how to survive. The anger kept me going, like a fire in my gut. Every time I saw my parents' faces on some local business ad online, or my sister Ellie's art posted with a dozen heart emojis, it was like a punch to the chest. They were out there living their perfect life, acting like I'd never been part of it. No missing person posters, no worried posts on social media. Just mom's recipes, dad's fishing buddies, and Ellie's sketches. I was erased, but I wasn't going to let them forget me that easily. I started hanging out more with Tommy, this guy I met at a shelter. He wasn't some wise old minner like in the movies, just a scrappy dude in his 20s who'd been on his own since he was my age. We didn't talk about feelings or anything soft like that. We'd swap stories about dumb stuff, like who got the worst sandwich from the shelter kitchen or how to sneak an extra blanket without getting caught. Tommy showed me how to get by without drawing attention. He'd say, keep your head down, but don't look weak, or someone will try you. One time, he caught me pocketing a candy bar from a corner store. Instead of ratting me out, he just laughed and showed me how to trade odd jobs for cash, stuff like cleaning a shop's backroom or hauling boxes for a food truck. Nothing big, just enough to keep me from starving. I spent a lot of time at the library, using their computers to keep tabs on my family. I'd search their names, check their social media, anything to see if they'd slipped up and mentioned me. Nada. Mom was posting about bake sales for Ellie's art club, Dad was tagged in photos at some lake, and Ellie was racking up likes on her drawings. I started saving screenshots, not sure why at first, just wanting proof they were acting like I didn't exist. I'd see comments from their friends, people I used to know, all praising their perfect family. It made me sick, but it also gave me an idea. If they wanted to pretend I was gone, I'd make sure their little bubble wasn't so perfect anymore. I wasn't planning anything crazy, not like hacking their accounts or some Hollywood nonsense. I just started small, watching who they hung out with, who liked their posts, who they did business with. Mom and Dad ran a little hardware store, always bragging about their community ties. I made a list of their customers, their suppliers, even the local folks who always commented on their posts. I'd use library computers to send anonymous emails, nothing too wild, just questions like, hey, heard the store's having some issues, everything okay? Or, wondering if you know about their family situation. Vague enough to not get me in trouble, but enough to make people talk. I could see it working. Their store's Facebook page started getting fewer likes, and some comments hinted at rumors. One guy even posted, heard you all had some drama, hope it's sorted. Mom deleted it fast, but I knew it stung. Tommy told me once, if you want to hit someone where it hurts, don't punch, just keep poking until they crack. That's what I was doing. Poking. Waiting. I wasn't going to let them rewrite me out of their story without a fight. I started thinking about what I'd do when I turned 18, when I could get an ID, maybe make some real moves. For now, I just kept my eyes open, saved every penny I could, and made sure they'd feel me one day, even if they didn't see me coming. It's been about a year since my family left me at that flea market, a 15-year-old kid with $10 and a dead phone. Surviving's gotten easier, not because it's fun, but because you learn how to move through a city without being noticed. The anger's still there, like a knot in my chest that tightens every time I see Mom's posts about her perfect life, Dad's fishing trips, or Ellie's latest art project getting 100 likes. They're out there acting like I was never part of their world. No missing kid reports, no worried messages, just business as usual. It's like I was a stain they scrubbed out. But I'm not letting them off that easy. I've been watching, waiting, and starting to poke at the cracks in their shiny little bubble. Most days, I'm at the library, using their free Wi-Fi to keep tabs on them. Mom and Dad's hardware store has its own Facebook page, full of posts about community values and pictures of them smiling at local events. Ellie's always in the background, holding up some painting or getting pats on the back. I save every post, every comment, just to remind myself how fake it all is. I started making moves, nothing big, just small nudges to mess with their perfect image. I'd use burner emails, ones I set up at the library, to send messages to their customers or suppliers. Stuff like, heard there's some trouble with the store's finances, you might want to double check. Nothing you could pin on me, just enough to get people whispering. I saw it working. Their store's page started getting fewer comments, and some folks posted vague questions about rumors. Mom deleted those fast, but I knew it got under her skin. Tommy, this guy I met at the shelter, taught me a lot about staying under the radar. He's not some guru, just a guy who's been hustling since he was a kid. We'd sit in the shelter's common room, trading tips over stale coffee, how to spot a good spot to crash, how to talk your way into a free meal. He'd say, you don't need to yell to be heard, just keep nudging till they trip. That's what I was doing. I'd send anonymous notes to the local business group, asking if anyone knew about family issues at the store. I even dropped a line to a guy who supplied their paint, saying I'd heard they were late on payments. I didn't know if it was true, but it didn't need to be. People started talking, and that's what mattered. One post on the community board got a reply. Yeah, I heard they're struggling. Mom shut it down quick, but the damage was done. I wasn't stopping there. I started messaging Ellie's friends from fake accounts, just little things like, hey, whatever happened to Ellie's brother? Most ignored me, but one girl responded, asking what I meant. I told her to ask Ellie herself. Next day, Ellie's Instagram went private. I couldn't help but grin. It was like tossing pebbles into a pond, small ripples, but they spread. I kept my head down, picking up odd jobs like sweeping shop floors or unloading delivery trucks to save a few bucks. Every dollar went into a sock I hid in my backpack. I wasn't sure what I'd do with it yet, but I knew I'd need it when the time came to really make them feel me. For now, I just kept poking, waiting for the day their perfect little world started to wobble. By now, I've been on my own for almost 2 years, scraping by in the city since that day at the flea market when I was 15. The anger never faded. It was like a battery, keeping me moving. My family's hardware store was still chugging along, but I could see the cracks I'd been poking it start to spread. Mom's social media posts were getting shorter, less braggy, and Dad wasn't showing up in as many photos. Ellie, my sister, wasn't posting as much either, just the occasional sketch with fewer likes than before. I've been sending anonymous emails and comments, stirring up whispers about their business and their perfect family. It wasn't enough to just annoy them. I wanted them to feel the weight of what they'd done, to know I wasn't some ghost they could ignore. I started getting bolder. Using library computers, I'd post in local business forums, asking things like, anyone know if that hardware store's still reliable? Heard they've got some family drama. I'd sent letters to their suppliers, signed as a concerned customer, hinting at unpaid bills or shady deals. Nothing I said was provably false, just enough to make people hesitate. Tommy, my buddy from the shelter, thought I was playing with fire, but he'd grin and say, you're like a dog with a bone, man. Just don't get caught. I wasn't worried about getting caught. I was careful, always using different emails, never leaving a trail. I saw the effects online. Fewer people tagged Mom and Dad in community events, and their store's reviews started dipping. One guy even commented, used to love this place, but something's off lately. Mom deleted it, but I screenshotted it first. I kept tabs on Ellie too. She was still the golden child, but I noticed her friends weren't as quick to hype her up anymore. I'd sent a few messages to her art club buddies, asking if they knew she had a brother who'd disappeared. One guy replied, saying he'd heard something but didn't know details. I told him to ask her directly. Her next post was some vague quote about moving past negativity, and I laughed so hard I almost dropped my phone. I started mailing in signed postcards to the house, just blank cards with a single line like, thinking of you. I knew it'd freak them out, wondering who was watching. Tommy said it was petty, but I didn't care. Every time they tried to act normal, I wanted them to feel me lurking, like a shadow they couldn't shake. I was saving every cent I could, doing odd jobs like washing dishes or moving boxes for shop owners. I had a plan forming, not some movie-style revenge, but something real. Their store was bidding on a big contract to supply materials for a new community center. I'd overheard it at the library, some guy talking about how my parents were all in on it. If I could mess that up, it'd hit them where it hurt, their wallet and their reputation. I wasn't sure how yet, but I was patient. I'd waited this long. I could wait a little longer to make them regret ever leaving me behind. I hit 18, and it felt like a door unlocking. 2.5 years had passed since my family ditched me at that flea market, and I'd been grinding, saving cash, and chipping away at their perfect little world. The city had hardened me, taught me how to dodge trouble, keep my stuff safe, and trust no one but myself. Tommy, my shelter buddy, helped me get a legit ID when I turned 18. Nothing fancy, just enough to open a bank account and stop looking like a runaway. I'd been watching my parents' hardware store closely, and I knew they were banking on that big community center contract. It was their chance to look like town heroes, and I was ready to turn it into their worst day. I stepped up my game. I'd been sending anonymous tips to suppliers and customers, but now I got specific. I found the email of the guy in charge of the community center project and sent a detailed message, signed as a former customer, listing concerns about the store's reliability, late deliveries, rumors of debt, even hints of family issues. I didn't lie, just stretched the truth enough to make them think twice. I sent similar emails to the local paper, knowing they loved a good scandal. Sure enough, a week later, a small article popped up questioning the store's financial stability. It didn't name me, but it didn't have to. Comments online started piling up, people asking what was going on. Mom tried to post a cheery update about the store, but it got buried under questions she couldn't delete fast enough. I didn't stop there. I mailed a letter to the city council, again anonymous, suggesting they check the store's books before signing anything. I heard through Tommy's friend, who worked at a diner near the council office, that the contract was under review. My parents' social media went quiet. No more photos of them shaking hands at events. Ellie's posts stopped too. Her art page was just old sketches now. I sent her a postcard, blank except for, "Miss you, sis." Her Instagram went offline the next day. I could feel their world wobbling, and it felt good, like I was finally the one calling the shots. Then I made my biggest move. I'd saved enough to hire a cheap lawyer. Not some hotshot, just a guy who'd file paperwork for me. I found out my grandpa had left a small piece of land to my parents, something they were planning to sell to fund the store's expansion. I filed a claim to contest it, saying I had a right to part of it as their kid. It wasn't about the land. It was about making them face me. The lawyer sent the papers, and I used my real name. No hiding this time. Tommy said I was crazy, but he high-fived me anyway. I wanted them to know it was me, the kid they threw away, coming back to haunt them. I didn't expect to win, but I knew it had cost them money and sleep. For the first time, I wasn't just a shadow. I was a problem they couldn't ignore. The legal papers hit my family like a brick through a window. It had been 3 years since they left me at that flea market, and I'd spent every day since building up to this. My claim on Grandpa's land wasn't going to make me rich, but it forced Mom, Dad, and Ellie to deal with me. I started getting calls. First one, then a dozen, then so many I stopped counting. Block numbers, voicemails from Ellie sounding shaky, saying, "Please, just talk to us. Dad's not okay." Mom sent an email through my lawyer, begging for a meeting. I didn't reply. I'd seen their social media implode. Mom's posts were gone. Dad wasn't tagged anywhere, and Ellie's art page was a ghost town. The community center contract fell through. I heard it at the library from a guy reading the paper. The store was losing customers, and neighbors were whispering about family trouble. The court date was surreal. I walked in, my cheap jacket wrinkled, and saw them across the room. Mom's eyes were red, like she hadn't slept. Dad stared at the floor, hands clenched. Ellie looked at me, then away, chewing her lip. The lawyer asked me questions, and I answered calm, like I was ordering coffee. Mom tried to talk to me during a break, her voice all wobbly, saying, "We didn't mean it." I walked past her, didn't even look back. Dad muttered something about me being ungrateful. Ellie just sat there, silent. The case dragged on for months, costing them lawyer fees and time. I didn't win the land, but I didn't need to. Every paper with my name on it was a reminder they couldn't erase me. Things fell apart for them after that. Tommy's friend said he saw Dad yelling at Mom outside the store, neighbors watching like it was a show. Ellie dropped out of art club, moved out of town, or so I heard. The store's hours got shorter, their signs started peeling. I didn't feel happy, exactly, just even. They'd left me with nothing, so I made sure they felt what it's like to lose control. I got my share of the estate, a small chunk of cash, enough to get a tiny apartment and a used laptop. I started working steady, doing deliveries, keeping my head down. I still get calls sometimes, numbers I don't know, voicemails I delete. I saw Ellie once, at a gas station, her hair shorter, eyes tired. She didn't say anything, just walked away. I didn't chase her. People ask if I got closure, but I don't know what that means. This wasn't about hugging it out or forgiving. It was about making them live with what they did. They wanted a life without me, and I gave them one, with a catch. Every time they see my name, or lose a customer, or hear a whisper about their past, they'll know I'm still out here, living, not letting them forget. I'm not their kid anymore. I'm the consequence they'll carry forever.